I've never been an RPG guy. Never was. Played a fair amount of them, but outside of a select few, they just have never been able to hit the right spot for me. Even other RPGs that try new things and have their own unique ways of play just have been never able to sit well with me. This all changed with one little game though. Around November, December of last year, I went back to finish one RPG I actually did enjoy quite a bit, Mario & Luigi's Superstar Saga for the 3DS. I didn't know what it was, but something about it made me actually want to go back and complete it. After which I began craving something more. I'd recently at the time modded my Wii and added a few virtual console games to it after it had been shut down for around a year. One of those games was Paper Mario. I always knew about the Paper Mario series and the love it had from its fans. Oh dear god, its fans. But I never really had much experience with it outside only two of its titles. So I decided to give it a go. And after playing through the whole adventure, I moved on to the next, then the next, then the next, skipped one because of my inability to play it, and then the most recent entry. Needless to say, I love this series now, and it all started with the very first game. I enjoyed my playthrough so much, just something about Paper Mario I love dearly. The first and second have become some of my favorite games of all time after playing through them. But why? What made this series stand out? Why do I love it? Well, hi, I'm Mr. Blue Screen Man, and this is the first part of a hopefully continuing retrospective on the entire Paper Mario series. Today we're going to be looking at where it all started with the N64 original. Without further ado, let's get started. Before we look at the game itself, let's go into the history behind it. In 1996, Mario got his first RPG released onto the Super Nintendo, Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. Developed by Squaresoft, the same company behind Final Fantasy, it was critically acclaimed at the time for its story, writing, characters, the art style, and served its purpose to many fans as a gateway into the RPG genre. Nintendo wanted Square to work on another game for their upcoming system, the Nintendo 64. However, Square left to work with Sony on Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation. Nintendo then went to Intelligent Systems, and then they became the developers of the at-the-time sequel to the SNES game, Super Mario RPG 2. Originally being developed for the 64DD, the failed disk drive attachment for the Nintendo 64 that many other games were being developed for at the time, first made its appearance at Nintendo Space World in 1997, where it looked quite different, to say the least. As many of you may know though, the 64DD was a massive failure that did not see a release outside of Japan, and it caused all of its upcoming games to either be cancelled or moved to cartridge form. This was the case with the then Super Mario RPG 2, which not only had this change, but due to current dwindling relationships with Square, had a name change as well, going from the sequel to the SNES Classic to its own identity under the name Mario Story, which to this day is still a series name in Japan. Speaking of trouble during the preview stages, the art style too was received rather negatively. IGN stated the game looked unfinished and rough looking. From my research too, it seemed like a sizable amount of consumers thought the same thing too, as it didn't resemble other releases at the time jumping from the second to the third dimension. I'll provide my own thoughts on it later, so stay tuned for that. After being in development for so long, Paper Mario finally released in August of 2000 to surprising critical and commercial success, selling over 1 million copies, being acclaimed as one of the greatest RPGs of all time, and one of the best games for the Nintendo 64. But does it hold up now? Well, hell yes it does. So grab a snack and a drink and sit back, because I'm about to tell you why Paper Mario is a truly fantastic game, and a perfect start to this series. Where else do we start but with the story? At its core, Paper Mario seems like the same cookie-cutter Mario plot, Bowser kidnaps Peach, go save her. But it's a lot deeper than that. Princess Peach invites the Mario brothers to a party at the castle, so they do what they do best and nonchalantly make their way over there. Upon their arrival, Mario goes to meet up with Peach where she asks if he'd like to go on the balcony alone. Yeah, real subtle, Peach. Unfortunately for them, the castle begins to lift off the ground and into the air. And as they're panicking and running in the same place, they come to a stop and realize their predicament. Suddenly, Bowser and newcomer Kammy Koopa come crashing in and announce that Bowser will defeat Mario once and for all like every other time. Except this time, Bowser has a legitimate plan. Halfway through your battle with the Koopa King, where in film battles later, Bowser pulls out his secret weapon, the Star Rod. With it, he becomes invulnerable to any attack, and with one fire breath, Mario's knocked out clean and weakened severely. One lightning strike to throw him out of the castle, and a title card later, the real adventure begins. Mario awakens in a very familiar scene, where he's found by the Star Spirits who lend him a bit of their power to help him get back up. Along with them, a lone Goomba child stumbles in upon his unconscious body. Mario wakes up after supposedly days of rest, Jesus Christ, where he's visited by one of the said Star Spirits, who tells Mario that he must see him at Shooting Star Summit. After walking out of the house he's sleeping in, Mario finds himself in Goomba Village, home to a single family of Goombas, one of which is a big fan of Mario and the brother of the Goomba that found him, Goombario, who after Mario finds and helps his grandfather get back home, joins Mario as a member of his party. Mario makes his way over to Toad Town, in which he finds his way to Shooting Star Summit, where he meets the Star Spirits again. Kind of. They're not actually there, as each one has been captured and being held in different areas of the Mushroom Kingdom. The Star Spirits also tell Mario how Bowser and Kammy Koopa invaded the Star Realm and not only separated them, but also stole the Star Rod, which you can already guess is quite the problem. With the main task at hand, Mario sets off across the whole Mushroom Kingdom to rescue the Star Spirits, get to Peach's castle, get back the Star Rod, and save Princess Peach. Speaking of Peach, after the prologue, her wish for help is granted by a small star kid named Twink. No, not that Twink. Twink can't do much being a small star kid and all, but in between each chapter of the game, he and the princess try to gather information of the whereabouts of the next Star Spirit to help Mario. See? Peach can be useful even in captivity. Going to these different locales, Mario will come across different what are normally enemies in the main series, but are seen for once to not just be another faction in Bowser's army. Mario will come across a Koopa Troopa who wants to be an adventurer to see the world, a Bomb-Bomb who wants to rebel against Bowser's army, a Paratrooper who just wants to finish his job and deliver mail, a Boo who just wants to help her fellow kind while also wanting to travel more, a baby little Sparky that joins Mario because why not, a Cheep Cheep that again wants to help Mario stop Bowser, and lastly, a Lakitu who just wants to be stronger for himself and his girlfriend. All of them are named and especially designed too, so you know they're unique and go by Cooper, Bombette, Parakarry, Bo, Watt, Sushi, and Lakalester alongside Goombario, who I mentioned earlier. All of them not only serve as party members to be used in battle, but also have uses in the overworld as well. Goombario has the ability to tattle, which is used to give you a description on the current area or character you're talking to. Cooper can be kicked into a shell and can also grab items from farther distances, which is pretty damn helpful at times. Bombette can be thrown and exploded next to cracks and walls, revealing either a secret or a way forward. Parakarry can grab onto Mario and fly with him for a few seconds. It's used to get over gaps too wide for a normal jump. Bo can grab onto Mario and turn invisible for as long as you're holding down the button and can be used to avoid enemy encounters. Watt is only used to light up dark areas, which only comes to use about a few times after she's introduced. Sushi will allow Mario to travel across water and dive under to find a star piece, again I'll get to those later, or to go under bridges and move forward. And finally we have Lakalester, who Mario can hop onto and go over large granite areas that you normally can't walk across, like spikes or lava. It's not a replacement for Parakarry if you're wondering. You can bring out one at a time in the overworld and in battles. This brings me to a flaw with partners, at least for the first game. They don't really have much of a purpose except for the abilities they provide. They're not really characters or real partners, they feel more like tools with one goal each that don't feel like anything by the time the game is finished. Partners will become much more fleshed out and start to develop their own personalities in the next game, luckily. The partners are at least unique, and it's creative to see a peaceful Goomba or Koopa town, what we normally interpret as enemies, have their own lives and societies. Speaking of settings, Paper Marios are familiar yet unique at the same time. The central hub of the map is Toad Town, which is home to shops, badges, toads, a dojo side area where you can test your skill, everything for a central area. The first chapter has Mario traveled to Koopa Village to recruit Cooper and the fortress of the totally not Ninja Turtle knockoffs, the Koopa Brothers, to rescue the first Star Spirit, L-Star, and yes, all their names are star puns. I'm also going to be taking this time to go into each chapter in depth, by the way, so yeah, prepare for that. Chapter 2 takes Mario to Dry Desert, which, yeah, totally haven't seen that in a Mario game before. However, here the main desert portion is big and full of secrets to discover and even has an outpost. Through the outpost, Mario learns how to get into Dry Ruins, where he defeats an ancient Koopa King and saves the second Star Spirit, Marmar. Chapter 3 is a forest area, but with a darker atmosphere on top of it. Mario and Co. must navigate through a series of pathways a la the Lost Woods and Ocarina of Time. This leads to the Boo Mansion, home to the fourth party member and leader of the Boos, Lady Bo. Bo is holding the fourth Star Spirit, Scalar, as prisoner and promises to let him go after Mario helps her out real quick. Behind the mansion, in another desert area, the Boos are currently under attack by this guy, Tubba Blubba, who's just been eating them and happens to be invincible on top of that. After finding his weakness, which is his heart, and beating it, no pun intended, he's severely weakened and defeated easily. Turns out he was just doing this because he's sensitive and scared a lot by the Boos. Jeez, what a Gen Zer. Chapter 4 takes place in a toy box in Toad Town. Shy Guys are pulling a lot of tomfoolery and stealing belongings of the residents in town. No one knows where the Shy Guys are coming from though, so after finding out of information where they could be coming from by actually talking to a few of the fellow Toads, it points you to this building. Using Bo's ability to veil yourself in the building reveals a hidden door that leads you to this toy box. Jumping into it leads you into the worst chapter of the game. The whole time you're trying to get from point A to point B by taking this train, but there's various roadblocks that require you to go to one area, Get to the end, get a thing, walk back to the entrance, exit the toy box, talk to Toad in Toad Town, return their belonging for another item to help you progress, go back into the toy box, use the item to progress, whether it be a cake to give to a fat shy guy, a translation of some made up language to hit a few blocks to go forward, or the new partner for the chapter, Y. After saving her from a mini-boss, use her ability to light up a dark room and chase down a few shy guys before making it to their leader, General Guy. Defeating him means you rescue the next star spirit, Muscular. A little fun note to add is that during the cutscene where Muscular is talking with Mario after the chapter, Twink comes down to tell Mario where to go next and runs into them. Muscular actually remarks on how he remembers the little star kid, and Twink gets all happy and honored, and it's just a cute touch to show how honorable the star spirits are, and adds a little bit of character to them. Chapter 5 takes the Mario Party to Lava Lava Island, which is one big treat if you like the Yoshi's Island games. The island is inhabited by Yoshis and a Cheep Cheep that's the caretaker of the young Yoshis, Sushi. Also found here are the Ravens from Yoshi's Island, and even the boss from the chapter is the throwback to the Naval Piranha boss from the SNES game. Joining you for the chapter is the Koopa Professor, Colorado. You met him earlier in the game and is idolized by Cooper as he wants to be an explorer like him one day, except one problem. Colorado is kind of dumb and being clumsy and getting into danger constantly. At least he tries to help, and after defeating the Lava Piranha and saving the 5th star spirit, Mistar, he attempts to go for some treasure in the volcano they've been traveling through. However, an eruption occurs and they make an escape with the treasure going somewhere else. Chapter 6 takes us back to Toad Town, where through a magic garden door leads us to flower fields with living flowers, lakitus, and spinies, and a sun that has fallen from the sky due to dark clouds. To actually get here requires a mandatory side quest throughout the game, oddly enough though. Across the map you'll find 4 of these guys, Bubblebs. Each one will give Mario a magic seed, and when given to this gardener Toad Minty to plant, they open a door to flower fields. Luckily, Bubblebs are easy to find, and for the most part they aren't out of the way. What is out of the way though are the items to collect in this chapter. It's almost as bad as chapter 4, but at least you don't have to go back to Toad Town to do anything. It's just in flower fields the whole time. The layout of the map is small too, which makes it a bit more bearable. After ridding the area of the Dudley Puff Puff machine and meeting the last partner, Lackluster, Mario defeats the cloud monster Huff and Puff and frees the 6th star spirit, Clevar. Chapter 7 takes him to Shiver City, where it's all peaceful with the town full of cute penguins. What can go wrong? Okay then, after a bit of back and forth and finding out Mayor Penguin isn't actually El Caput, we head over to Star Haven, home to the Star Kids and where Mario obtains a scarf. One backtrack and bucket collecting later, the Crystal Palace is opened up. The palace has a really interesting gimmick where at first it seems like a mirror's in the background, then, huh? There's an opening to the background, and following back there's 2 of them? Turns out this whole place is home to Dupligos, new enemies to the franchise that can copy Mario and his partners, but only in battle, his partners. They cause some mischief, and after a few pretty fun puzzles later, Mario meets and fights the Crystal King to an absolutely bopping song. On that topic, the soundtrack is amazing. It can go anywhere from atmospheric, up-to-beat tunes that get you going on an adventure. To energetic tracks to get you through a battle. And even more down-to-earth and serious tracks like the boss themes that end chapters. music is a constant pro for this series, by the way. Every single game has an amazing soundtrack. Anyway, the final Star Spirit Calmer is saved, and after defeating the Crystal King and with all of them together again, Mario can finally get back to Peach's castle. Speaking of the princess, she's been out doing stuff this whole time while Mario was out rescuing the Star Spirits. Around the beginning of the game, after Peach is met by the Star Kid Twink, these two would go on to do a lot of things in these little intermission scenes between chapters. The first thing of which is relay the Lucky Star to Mario via Twink. The Lucky Star gives you the ability to use action commands in battle, which I'll go into later. They then go on to do a lot of useful things for the mustachioed plumber, such as find out the locations of the captured Star Spirits, a weak spot for the invincible Tubba Blubba, falsely tells Bowser Mario's fears, or truthfully, depends on what you choose, baking a cake for the fat Shy Guy, and the last thing she does is finding out the development of a way for Kammy Koopa to increase the power of Bowser. Unfortunately, after Chapter 7, Peach is captured and kept close to Bowser and Kammy after putting up for a tomfoolery for so long. Before this though, you can actually transport items via a chest in the castle. These sections are pretty short, but at least it shows Peach being helpful for once, and I find her working well for these slower stealth sections. She even later on gets a special parasol that disguises her as guards around the castle. It works well off the main gameplay. And that's where the main meat and potatoes are. Paper Mario is an RPG, so that means we gotta talk about the battle system. So sit back because there is a lot to unpack here. Battles are relatively standard if you played other RPGs, but Paper Mario is a little more simplistic and straightforward. There's three main counters at the top of the screen that you've got to keep track of. Health points, flower points, and star points. Health points are HP is exactly what you expect it to be, your health. Flower points or FP is how you use badge attacks, which I'll get into later. Star points are the experience you gather through battles. 100 star points level you up, and when you level up, you can choose to increase your HP or FP by 5, or badge points by 3, more info in a bit. You have two main ways of attacking, jumping and using your hammer. They both do the same amount of base damage, but later in the game you can find super and ultra variants that do more damage. Along with those two options, Mario can also use items that you gather throughout the game through shops, item blocks, and enemy drops. They can heal, attack enemies, make you invulnerable for a few turns, or affect other stats on both Mario and enemies. Next are special moves. They're gained after rescuing each Star Spirit, and they also increase the bar up top so you can use more moves. The special moves gained can be pretty useful too, anywhere from a big attack to making all enemies fall asleep, lowering enemies' attack stats, straight up whisking them away from battle. They can come in good use. The last option is strategies. It's for the rest of the RPG stuff like switching out partners, running from battle, skipping a turn, and with the right badge you can charge up your attack stat for a more powerful jump or hammer swing. Alright, that's a whole nother layer to battles. Badges. Badges can not only affect battles but gameplay in the overworld too. I'll break down badges into 3 different categories: attack badges, stat boost badges, and miscellaneous badges. Attack badges include any kind that add on to your attacks. You can get more jump attacks or more hammer attacks with these. Stat boost badges, as I call them, can charge up attack power, add another 5 health points or flower points to your account, deal more damage to certain kinds of enemies, slowly regain health and flower points through battle, increase defense, increase attack power when you really come close to dying. There's a lot of these that can really help. The last I label is miscellaneous badges. These can do anything from change the sound effect of your attacks, let you use more than one item per battle. If you bought an item and used it in the battle, your coins would get refunded, allow Mario to jump onto spiked enemies, switch out partners in battle without using a turn, and even affect the speed of Mario's spin dash. The spin dash, by the way, isn't the same as the Sonic games. Mario isn't going to go turn onto a ball, but rather he spins along. It's the best thing for fast travel. Back to battling now. After Mario uses an attack, it's your partner's turn. Partners don't have actual health, and most of the time enemies won't go for them. If they do get hit by an enemy, they'll become unusable for the amount of turns that correspond with how much damage they took. It can get annoying sometimes, especially if Mario's affected with some kind of status element as well. Partners can't use items, which is kind of a bummer, but luckily they can in the sequel. Every partner will start with 2 attacks. However, if you find super blocks in the overworld, partners can be upgraded to super rank and gain an additional move and attack boost. Later on, Mario gets the Ultra Stone from Raphael the Raven, which allows partners to be upgraded to Ultra rank as well as for another attack and boost in power. It kind of takes a while for partners to really reach their full potential, as for a good portion of the game you'll probably only use 1 or 2 at a time until later when they're all viable. I really do enjoy battles for the most part, but sometimes they can feel a bit slow, especially in an area where there's multiple encounters and you just want to get onto the next area. Speaking of areas again, I just want to talk about them all together for a little bit. Paper Mario really shines in its locales, and each character you talk to is just brimming with personality and charm. The dialogue is really funny at times, and this is one of the first games I played where I actually went out of my way to talk to NPCs because of how enjoyable they were. If that wasn't enough, in Toad Town, you'll find a post office where you can read letters addressed to Mario and company. It gives those little side characters you meet an extra layer of depth, and another thing to add on top of it are the letter side quests. Throughout the adventure, you'll come across letters that Parakarry lost and need to be delivered. Delivering them to the recipients results in them thanking you and giving you a star piece. It's just a nice little token of appreciation that makes you fall in love with them even more. Speaking of which, star pieces. Star pieces can be collected throughout the game either as rewards for completing side quests or they'll be hidden throughout areas you'll travel to. You can take them to this guy right here, Merlo, in Shooting Star Summit in exchange for some really good badges. Some of them can show enemy health bars, slowly regain health during battle, or just some trivial fun badges that change the sound effect your hammer makes. One issue I really have with this game is traveling through the world. Mario feels a bit slow and the only method to get around fast isn't really unlocked until later in the game. Until then, you're just constantly spinning to get through areas faster. The Speedy Spin badge makes this more bearable, but it still feels like it shouldn't have to come to that. Another issue I have with the game is pacing. Some chapters feel really fast, like Chapter 3, where there's only about 3 real areas you travel to, while others can come to a crawl, cough, Shy Guy's Toy Box, cough, cough, cough. Chapters can have backtracking issues too, like the as mentioned earlier Shy Guy's Toy Box and Flower Fields, which are constant back and forth through small areas. It never gets bad, far from it. I still had a great time, but it can just get a little tedious and sometimes I ponder when the chapter will end. Back in the game itself, after saving the last Star Spirit and going back to Shooting Star Summit, Mario is granted access to Star Haven, where you can make your final item purchases before reaching Bowser's Castle, the final big area of the game. It makes use of almost all your partners. You'll come across some of the most annoying enemies in the game like Hammer Brothers, yes, even in the spin-off RPGs they're annoying, armored Koopas that hit hard, magic Koopas that can make other enemies tougher by upping their attack or defense, and hell, just healing them outright. Not only that, you also have these rooms where you have to answer this Bowser Door's questions, and again you'll meet it where you have to play a game of how many blank there are. After the second time you're about to fight the Koopa Bros again when this little guy Junior Troopa comes in to steal their thunder again. Oh yeah, forgot to mention him. In the prologue and throughout the chapters, you'll come across Junior Troopa as he wants to come back and attempt to beat the shit out of you when really he gets his ass kicked in by Mario. He talks to himself so much too. It's actually kind of funny when he comes up only to slip in a lake or he swims all the way to Lava Lava Island only to swim back to Toad Town to fight. It's charming. He talks himself up so much too, which makes you just want to put this brat in his place. He gets stronger each encounter, but as long as you're smart with your attacks and use of partners, he's easy peasy. After Junior Troopa gets what's coming to him, Mario makes his way up to Peach's castle. In the last Peach intermission, she was finally captured for realsies by Bowser and Kammy Koopa. This is important because Mario finds her in the exact hallway as the beginning, except this time when Bowser comes in, Mario gains the upper hand for good and makes do with Bowser. This fight feels so good because it's exactly how the game started, except this time Mario's fully powered up and has not only partners on his side, but also the power of the Star Spirits to make Bowser vulnerable to defeat him. Upon doing that, Bowser takes off with Peach in tow and challenges Mario if he wants to save her to meet at the top of the castle for the final battle. One last save point and health restoration later, Mario meets with Bowser, Kammy, and the princess at the top, where the bridge connecting the platform where they're all standing collapses, cementing that only one of them can win. Kammy then unleashes her magic to make Bowser unstoppable, and it just makes him a little bigger. I mean, with all the Yoshi's Island callbacks and references, it would have been cool to see something of the same magnitude of that final boss, but what can you do now? Also, that was a platformer and this is an RPG, so perspective would kind of be an issue, but I mean, it would have been cool. The final battle starts, and the Star Beam, which you used before to make Bowser vulnerable, fails. Bowser's become so powerful, not even with the help of the Star Spirits can he be defeated. That's where on the side, Twink comes back. He unties Peach, and after a smaller battle with Kammy, Twink becomes powerful enough on wishes, as well as the rest of the Star Spirits, to upgrade the Star Beam into the Peach Beam. This now gives Mario a chance to take down Bowser, and what follows is a final boss I'm very mixed on. The fight for the most part is really enjoyable, and the background song being more rock and metal based definitely lends a hand in it, but at the same time it can get very repetitive. Most of it is using the Peach Beam to make Bowser vulnerable, then using your partner, preferably Watt, to chip away at his health until he's defeated. While all this is happening, Bowser can also make himself invincible again with the Star Rod, swipe his claw at you, which somehow poisons Mario, heal himself by, Jesus Christ, 30 HP, and even temporarily disable your partner, which just drag on the fight for longer. Again, the fight isn't bad, it's enjoyable and kind of stressful, which is what I like in final bosses. They're supposed to be a challenge, but this could just get a little too repetitive. Upon defeating Bowser, the Star Rod is retrieved, and both the Koopa King and Kammy Koopa are struck off the platform. The Star Spirits whisk Mario and Peach away to safety, and then time jumps to a bit later. Mario and Luigi are again invited to another party at Peach's castle, where this time all the key characters and your party members are here to celebrate. The princess thanks everyone for their help in saving the Mushroom Kingdom, and then we get to watch a little parade led by Luigi as the credits roll. After the parade, Mario and Peach go back to Mario's house to watch the fireworks, and this is the end of the adventure. Mario and Peach get to spend a little moment together that they were supposed to at the beginning, but now that it's over, they get to enjoy themselves. And sometimes, that's the best reward. Paper Mario is an amazing game. It laid the groundwork for its series and set the standard for Mario RPGs to come in the future. I love this game if you couldn't tell. It's one of my favorites of all time for many reasons. The story, the characters, the writing, the combat, the art style that continues to age exponentially well to this day compared to other games on the same console. I love how we get to see parts of Mario's world that otherwise go unexplored, and seeing what we normally see as foes as neutral people add a whole nother layer of depth to these characters. I love the battle system as it actually feels like you're growing and becoming more experienced alongside the characters with a more strategy-reliant system. The soundtrack is so good, perfectly blending with every area and never really gets on the repetitive side. Peach actually having some action and not just sitting there twiddling her thumbs is also a really cool addition that doesn't make her a one-dimensional damsel in distress again. Do I still have some gripes with it? Of course, no game is perfect. It feels a bit slow-paced at times and fast-paced at other times. The partners, while all unique design-wise, don't have much personality to them and serve more as tools to progress rather than actual companions. Some parts of the game feel too reliant on backtracking as well, and rather than progressing the story, it feels more like padding to make the game feel longer. The final fight too feels a bit underwhelming, but I just went into that. The game sold really well too, proving that many wanted more, and a few years later, we got a sequel for the Nintendo GameCube. This game went on to fix a lot of what was wrong with its predecessor and went on to become one of the most beloved games in not only the series or franchise, but of all time. But that's a story for another day, and that's why Paper Mario is a perfect start.